Last night on Raw, we saw new Raw Tag Team Champions crowned as Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins defeated the Viking Raiders to end the Viking Raiders Championship reign. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this one. So the show opened with Raw, with Seth Rollins opening the show. He comes out with his disciples, the AOP and Buddy Murphy. He welcomed Buddy Murphy to his group, called him his disciple. Buddy Murphy was in a suit, along with the AOP in their suits. Rollins rambled on about this being fate, destiny, etc., to which they were interrupted by Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. They mentioned that the Big Show's not there and that he'll get Rollins soon, so it would appear that the Big Show is now gone from WWE TV for a while, which, to be honest, was expected. I mean, it was kind of thought that Big Show wasn't in for the long haul, and that's fine. That if that's how they want to use Big Show going forward, I think that's the best way. Have these cameos where he shows up. He's still the Big Show. He's still an attraction. He's still a giant and also a huge name in the industry, if you pardon the pun. So I had no problem with the Big Show not being there. This isn't about him anymore, is it? It's about the younger talent going forward. But Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe were not alone. They brought out the Viking Raiders, the Raw Tag Team Champions. I think after this night, the Viking Raiders will regret joining Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. So they both brawl, which is the segment. And then after the segment, Charlie Caruso backstage goes up to Seth Rollins. He talks about his disciples and he challenges the Viking Raiders to a Raw Tag Team Championship match later on in the night with his partner, Buddy Murphy. Now, I was stunned at this point that it wasn't the AOP. I mean, I get the AOP are like Rollins's, bodyguards and all that sort of thing, but they are the tag team in the faction. Surely, if anyone's going to challenge for the Raw Tag Team Championship, it would be AOP. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but the AOP sort of standing behind them had this look of like, what? I don't know, why is it not us? Like, surely it should be us challenging for the tag titles. I thought at the time that this could be a swerve, the sort of thing where Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy say they're going to challenge for the title, then they last minute go, you know what, AOP challenge and AOP challenges and they win. So I thought they could be going in that direction. They didn't though. Apparently AOP are nothing but muscle in this faction. They're not going to be having loads of matches. They're not going to be challenging for championships. That's for sure. So I was a bit slightly confused on that one. We'll go on that a bit later on in this video. So they have the match later on in the evening. The Raw Tag Team Championship on the line. The Viking Raiders defending against Seth Rollins and his new disciple, Buddy Murphy. Of course, Rollins calling himself the Monday Night Messiah, a sort of 2020 version of the Straight Edge Society, I guess. Rollins is calling out Punk so much that he's actually stealing his gimmicks at this point. The finish of the match, we have Seth Rollins sending Ivar crashing to the floor when Ivar went up for a splash attempt. This allowed Rollins' new disciple, Buddy Murphy, to hit a bicycle knee that would set up Eric for the stomp by Rollins on the apron, which allowed Buddy Murphy to get the 3 count. So yes, new Raw Tag Team Champions Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins. Backstage after the match, the Monday Night Messiah Seth Rollins promised he would also win the Royal Rumble on Sunday. Now, let's get into all of this. The match itself I thought was tremendous. The crowd was totally into it. They were red hot. To be honest, the Raw crowd last night I thought was excellent in general. There were several times, like in the ladder match earlier on in the show, where they were totally behind Rey Mysterio. Brock Lesnar, when he came out, had heat. Maybe not as much heat as he had last week, but in general, I thought you really couldn't fault the crowd. They were in Wichita, Kansas, which isn't exactly known for having the most amazing crowd. But last night, they were red hot, absolutely red hot. Ivar, I thought, was the standout in this match. His athleticism is just off the charts. For a guy his size, he's definitely over 300 pounds. He's doing cartwheels, he's doing dives, he's doing splashes. It was awesome. And the way he got the hot tag in the match, the traditional hot tag in professional wrestling, this was a hot tag. Like, he came in, threw Buddy Murphy, threw Seth Rollins all over the place. Cartwheels, kicks, splashes, slams. The crowd was loving it. So, like I said, the match itself I thought was absolutely tremendous. Now, the finish of having Rollins and Buddy Murphy go over and become the Raw Tag Team Champions, I'm conflicted, to put it bluntly, about it. I understand that it elevates Buddy Murphy as Rollins' disciple. He's taken him under his wing, and now they're really, Messiah and disciple. And I don't have an issue with putting the spotlight on Buddy Murphy. I really don't. I heavily praised the ending of Raw last week, and finally having Buddy Murphy in something substantial in the WWE. Every time he was called upon last year when he was on SmackDown, he absolutely knocked out in the park. He came into that whole Eric Rowan doppelganger attacking Roman Reigns storyline fiasco by accident, and had that great match with Roman Reigns. He even defeated Daniel Bryan. And he's had obviously this trilogy of matches with Aleister Black that were awesome. Every single match was tremendous. So I'm more than happy to have Buddy Murphy in a prominent position on Monday Night Raw or just anywhere in WWE. So I don't have an issue with that. My issue with all of this is it's a slight detriment to the tag team division, in my opinion. Now, just the way you look at how the Viking Raiders have been booked so far in WWE since they debuted on Raw last year and in their quest to become tag team champions and eventually becoming tag team champions, these guys destroyed everyone. I mean, not just jobbers, we're talking full-on tag teams. The only two defeats they'd had prior to this were against the OC, one in Saudi Arabia and one on Raw. But apart from that, they've just destroyed and dominated everyone. And yet, who do they get beaten by? They get beaten by two guys who they're tagging for the first time. And not only do they challenge for the Raw Tag Team Championships, but they win. Now, I know the argument against this is going to be, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, they're high caliber athletes. They're top tier talent. It doesn't matter. If anything, it's a rub against the Viking Raiders that they can be in a high profile match. I disagree. I totally disagree. An established tag team should always be a thrown together one. Why? Because if you're looking at this from a legitimate shoot point of view, imagine this was a legit sport, okay? A tag team wrestling is completely different to singles wrestling. Okay, it's like the same of, you look at, tennis. A doubles competitor, if they went against two singles competitors, they should wipe the floor of them because they understand the nature of the match that they're in. So an established tag team should always be a thrown-together tag team, whether it's chemistry, whether it's manipulation of the rules, the different rules in the tag team match in comparison to a singles match. They should always win. And at a time where people like the Revival are holding out their contract, looking for specific promises when it comes to tag team wrestling and the booking of not only themselves but the tag team division as a whole, this doesn't fare well at all in terms of tag team wrestling. I had some conversation with someone on social media last week when they were talking about the Revival, if they were going to stay with WWE or not. And someone said, well, I think they might because the WWE are looking to take or appear to be taking tag team wrestling more seriously. And I almost had to laugh. This is a company that doesn't care about tag team wrestling. They haven't since the early 2000s. And what's the evidence of that? Because they might decide they're going to care about tag team wrestling for a couple of months, but they'll get bored. They get bored. It's never, ever been a priority for WWE. And I'm not criticising that. That's just the way they are. I'm not going to criticise Vince McMahon for his booking philosophy on tag team wrestling because realistically it's never changed. It really hasn't. His focus is on the top of the card, on the singles talent, and that's always been the case. We've had great tag teams come and go. Eventually they split up or they leave because they can only do so much in the tag team division in the WWE. So if I'm the Revival looking at this, I'm going, you know what? I'm going to see out my contract. I'm going to go somewhere else, go to an AEW and I don't want to be that person going, oh, AEW's better. But they do have a greater focus on the tag team division. It's just fact. They have got lots of established tag teams and actual teams, not teams that are thrown together, competing for the tag team championship. It just, tag team wrestling, like I said, just isn't taken seriously in WWE. There's great matches. Absolutely great matches, but it's the long-term booking of the division which drives tag teams away, in my opinion. And on top of that, the tag team in the faction, led by Seth Rollins, didn't even get the tag team title shot. If I'm the AOP, I'm going, well, it's great that I'm on this platform. I'm behind Seth Rollins. I'm the heater for Seth Rollins, the top heel on Monday Night Raw, maybe behind Brock Lesnar, the top full-time heel, shall we say. But they didn't even get the match. To me, it just didn't make sense. I understand that it plays into the storyline of Seth Rollins being the Messiah and Buddy Murphy being the disciple and what better way to help your disciple learn by winning the tag team championships? You've got this sort of mentor and student sort of storyline going, great. And eventually, I guess it will long-term lead for Buddy Murphy to turn on Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins to excommunicate Buddy Murphy in a similar way to Triple H did to Randy Orton. That I would assume is where they're going with it. Now, to touch on what Rollins said post-match about entering the Royal Rumble, is he going to win the Royal Rumble on Sunday? A little bit of a spoiler, I guess, for my predictions video that will drop later this week. Seth Rollins, I don't think, is going to win the Royal Rumble. Who is he going to be eliminated then by? I say he's going to be eliminated by a returning Edge. Now, I mentioned this in the Edge return video that was uploaded to the channel recently, but I think that Edge returns at the Royal Rumble. I think Edge eliminates him being Seth Rollins from the Royal Rumble, and then an enraged Rollins, along with his disciples, Buddy Murphy and AOP, they get frustrated, they get angry, they attack Edge and eliminate Edge. Therefore, Edge doesn't win the Rumble, which solves the problem of, well, if Edge is returning, he has to win it. He doesn't, but I think there's only a couple of ways you can get around him not winning it. One being having Seth Rollins, AOP and Buddy Murphy eliminate him after they've been eliminated themselves. This then sets up the WrestleMania match between Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, and the Rated R Superstar. But we'll go into more detail about that when the predictions video drops on the YouTube channel later on this week. But more importantly, it's not just my opinion that matters, it's yours as well. What did you think of this match on Monday Night Raw with Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins winning the Raw Tag Team Championships? What do you think of the decision for Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy to win the Tag Team Championship? Do the Viking Raiders deserve better, or is this as far as they could go after dominating every tag team in the division? Let me know your opinions in the comment section below, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.